Alright, if you thought this would be your first day without any NFT stuff on your timeline, I have bad news because I'm doing an NFT video and cashing those sweet views. Anyway, enough with the levity. I really just wanted to do a video on this subject. I've been trolling on my Twitter. Like, I use my Twitter mostly for just for like shit posting. Anyway, I've been posting some stuff about NFT, and I really wanted to share my thoughts in like a just more video format, because you cannot really have long discussions on Twitter. Because I think I have a pretty decent opinion on the subject. Because of course, like the NFT crypto art stuff is really sort of cryptocurrency invading my own work field, which is VFX 3D stuff. So like the art community. And the cryptocurrency stuff is something I've been interested in since 2016, which I know a decent amount about. So it's kind of cool to sort of see these two come together. And I kind of just wanted to share my thoughts on the whole thing, why I think it's currently in a very big bubble. Not financial advice, of course, but why I think in the long term it is something to keep in mind, like to keep an eye out for, and why it's definitely is gonna stay, it's gonna be there, and it's gonna be a very interesting thing for artists in the future going forward. But why I think we need to go through this bubble phase, which I don't know how long the bubble phase will last. We'll see. I kind of feel this is starting to peak, but I mean, it could still go on for a couple of months. I mean, like markets can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent, right? That's the saying. So yeah, let's get into it a little bit, because there's a couple of points that I just want to discuss. First, what are NFTs? Of course, I want to discuss that. Secondly, I want to discuss upon the energy usage thing, because this is something I see posted on my timeline everywhere. There's this one article that's being shared, which is a decent article, but it's presenting the half-truth, kind of. It's not presenting the full story. That's why I kind of wanted to go into that thing, because currently it is wasting a lot of energy, but it's not like the thing skipped over a couple of important things that I think are worth discussing. I'm going to go over where I think this whole thing is heading, and a couple of other things, like how it works. I want to discuss like just what they are, how blockchains work, etc., etc. So yeah, let's just first, I guess, get into what NFT are, if you have actually no idea what I'm talking about right now. So NFT stands for non-fungible token, if you didn't know that already. So essentially what it is, it's a way to digitize anything. Essentially, it doesn't have to be art. Like right now, we're talking about art on the blockchain, but it can be anything. There's tokens being made for houses on the blockchain. You can put anything on the blockchain, essentially, data, like sensor data, whatever. Like, and the idea that's happening now with the art thing is to put art, like music or an image or a video, on the blockchain in a scarce way. Because what we had before is that, I mean, if you have an image or a song, you can just infinitely copy it around, and there's no way of telling what the original was, right? So that's kind of where this NFT thing comes in. Because with an NFT, what you do is you put your image or your video, let's say an image for now, you put it through a hash function. If you don't know what a hash, if you're watching this channel, you probably know what a hash function is. It's a random function. So input is image or video, whatever. That computes a hash, which is just a random output. I'll put some video on top of this showing the whole thing. And what's going to happen? Like if the image changes slightly, the hash will completely change. So this is the original. If I were to change 1 pixel, the hash would be completely different. If I save it out with different compression settings, the entire hash would be completely different. So there you have a unique hash, which you can see if it's the original. And what happens is it gets uploaded in the distributed ledger. You could say blockchain or distributed ledger. There's also projects in the space that don't use blockchain, so I kind of prefer the complete term of distributed ledger, because that's what a blockchain is. Essentially, it's a ledger distributed across the world, keeping track of transactions and stuff. Anyway, so well, what happens is that hash gets put on the blockchain. Then the file gets also distributed through IPFS, Central Interplanetary File System, and it gets referenced to with this hash. And it gets a timestamp. So let's say if I upload it today is the 9th of March, 2021, and it's 6:28 p.m. currently. I'm recording this. So if I were to mint an NFT now, it would get timestamp. It would get so I'd have the hash, I'd have the timestamp, I'd have the proof that I minted it, because I can prove that I have this address, because nobody can use my own address. And if I only mint 5 pieces of this piece of art, then I can always prove that I am the original creator. Where before, that was of course a little bit difficult. If I send you an image, I can never prove that this was the first or the original version. So it creates digital scarcity in a world where there wasn't any digital scarcity before, which is really cool. So essentially, it's kind of similar to, like, let's say if you have a Pokemon card. Like, I can search up an image of a Charizard online, I can print it out, and then I have a Charizard. But of course, it's not going to be a real Charizard. Even if I have a regular Charizard from a booster pack, but it's not the first edition booster pack, it's still not going to be worth a lot. What is going to be worth a lot is the first edition Charizard. That's the one that's going away for crazy amounts. Same with paintings. Like, I can look up an image of a Mona Lisa, but it's not going to be the real Mona Lisa. So the entire concept is super cool. And I mean, like, for artists, this makes a way to start selling your digital art where it wasn't possible before. Because, I mean, before you could like sell prints and stuff like that. But this is just a whole new way of thinking about it. And it goes way beyond, like when I mentioned, just a art piece. What I think would be a very cool implementation in games eventually would be, for example, that for example, loot in a game. Like, you could make your own in-game where, let's say, there's like the sword of the bear slayer or the bull slayer, depending on if you're bullish or bearish. And there might be only 10 versions of this sword in existence everywhere. So that's not on your own installation, that's in the entire world. So if something like that were to drop and you know there's only 10, then that's very that's a very big deal. You could trade these, like, you could even like you could trade them. So if you really want the sword of the bear slayer, you could also just not do that, and then it would just be a cool unique item within your own game. So for stuff like that, I think it's really cool. And there's, of course, a lot more examples of this. And now you might say, yeah, but like Tim, like minting stuff on Ethereum, currently minting an NFT costs like between $50 and $100, or sometimes more, sometimes $200. So that would make it unusable for games. We'll get to that in a second about the future sort of solutions to stuff like that, or why, like, in the future this NFT stuff will be a little bit less expensive, and why in the future it also will be less energy hungry. Because if I want to explain why it's currently so energy hungry and why the fees are going to go up so much, I need to explain what a blockchain is. So if you don't know how a blockchain works, let me take a sip of my water first. But if you don't know how blockchain works, let me just do a very simple sort of example. Imagine a miner. You might have heard of the miners in blockchain. Imagine it as a box handler, and the box handler has a box, and then there's people throwing stuff in the box. So they throw NFTs in the box, and they throw regular transactions in the box. They throw everything in the box, and then eventually the box is full. And then what the box handler does, it hands the box over. It puts the hash on the box on the blockchain. Not before it also puts a sticker from the previous box, because the previous box was also hashed. Because the previous box, the one on the blockchain, was hashed, and it got a sticker on it. It got a sticker. He put a new sticker on the box, and he hands it over. So the whole box gets a unique ID based on the stuff that went into it and based on the previous block. So why the previous block also goes into it. That's why you cannot change the history in a blockchain. So you cannot like suddenly create more of this NFT, because then the hash would change. So that's why blockchains are very secure, or distributed ledgers in general. So that's kind of how that works. So when he wants to hand off the box, There's a couple of things that are of course going to happen, because the box is a certain size, so that's the block size, and there's there's a limit to how fast he can hand off those boxes. So there's a problem there, because what if the box is full and there's more people want to throw stuff in the box in the current time frame. So currently Ethereum can handle around 26 transactions per second. So if there's any more, the only reason you can get in the box faster is to bid up the fees. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna say ask the box handler, what if I give you $20 instead of $10 to put my transaction in the box first? That is constantly happening now. So that's why the fees are going up and up and up and up, because we're already at capacity. So there's not more, like the boxes don't get bigger. So this is the only way to get in time without it taking weeks or never getting your stuff on the blockchain, is to just bid up the fees. So this is where the part comes in where the article describing the energy use is not completely true. Because we were already at capacity for the Ethereum network way before this entire NFT thing started taking off. And you've seen these numbers of energy use going through the roof, blah, blah, blah. Like if you mint one NFT, it uses the same electricity as like you're living your life for 43 years. Not completely, because if I mint another NFT, the box is already full. The work is already being done. It's not using extra energy to throw my NFT in there. What is happening is that I'm bidding up the price, so it might incentivize more miners to start competing for handling of these boxes, because that's where the next thing comes in. Because the prices go up, and before the box handler can handle these boxes to the blockchain, what he needs to do is solve a little puzzle. So imagine there's a little Sudoku puzzle that needs to be solved, and what he can do is he can solve the puzzle just manually, like thinking and like, I'm gonna solve the puzzle, and you can actually hash stuff on the blockchain manually if you want. You can actually do that. There's videos on YouTube. I'll see if I can find one and I'll put it in the description. There's people solving Bitcoin blocks manually. But the thing is, if you use a computer, it's going to be faster. So what happens is these miners, instead of doing it themselves, of course, they're going to do it on their computer, which of course that has been like nobody does it manually. But it is possible. But you kind of get a race of like because the person who gets to hand off these blocks gets to keep the fees that people throw in it. Like if I want to throw in an NFT, I throw in a fee as well. So the one that gets to hand it off first, so the first one to solve the little Sudoku puzzle gets to keep the fees. So that's where the whole thing comes in, where you're just buying GPUs, where like that's why the whole GPU crisis now, which is another bridge, I guess, to our industry, is kind of coming from, because it's really hard to get GPUs now, because everybody's buying these GPUs because they want they wanna participate in this thing. So indirectly it is affecting energy use, because it might incentivize more people to start mining if the price goes higher. But if I just make one more NFT, it's not going to increase the energy use. So it's a little bit of an unfair assumption. But I'll have to give them that it is a waste of energy. I completely agree. But what I forget to mention in that main article is that Ethereum has been moving away from proof of work, where you sort of you do the math puzzle to solve your to be able to put your box on the blockchain. They are replacing that with proof of stake. So proof of stake is instead of sort of just throwing my computer resources as trying to solve the puzzle, you can kind of imagine it as, I guess, that I'm going to give my wallet to someone, and then I'm going to say, okay, all of the stuff that went into this box, I checked it, it's all fine. Like it's like they're like nobody tried to suddenly make an NFT that was only supposed to have like one edition to make it like 10 editions, stuff like that. So I checked all the whole box, and I'm gonna hand it over. But then the guy is gonna check the box, and if you made a mistake, then he's gonna keep your wallet. So you lose your wallet, which has the Ethereum. So that's kind of what proof of stake does. So it's a different thing. So in that case, you don't have the the mining race anymore. You don't have the race of just people trying to sort of compete for computing power. So Ethereum has been working on that, and so that will alleviate a big part of the energy use already. And I just thought it wasn't fair that they didn't mention that in the articles, because they do mention that they're mostly going to focus on Ethereum. And there's already all other platforms out there that use proof of stake. Ethereum is moving to proof of stake. There's also other stuff like sharding. You can imagine sharding is like, now everybody's competing for the same box to put it in. And when you have sharding, there's like, maybe there's one group of people competing to mine the box holding the foundation NFT, and then there's one for the Rarible, and then there's one for Nifty. That's kind of sharding. That's where it's also going to. That's also what Ethereum is doing. And there's a lot of other platforms as well that either have sharding already, or they're having completely different solutions. Like I mentioned, there's also solutions that don't even use blockchain technology to do other stuff. I don't want to talk about anything particularly, because I like this is not about specific crypto projects. I don't want to talk about the NFT things. But I kind of hope you understand like that the energy thing is not, it's currently, it's completely waste, but there is being worked on that, and I didn't think it was fair that they didn't mention that. So that will also alleviate, once you have the sharding, so the multiple islands of like little miners, that will also alleviate the a lot of the transaction costs. So then the transaction costs will come down a little bit, and then it won't be as expensive to mine something, and the energy use will come down. But that's all gonna take a little while, and that's why I think like currently it's just becoming unusable for anybody, like a small artist, to put any NFT out there. And the thing I like about this NFT is that it's finally like artists are sort of, it's not like being an artist is not necessarily the best paid job ever. I mean, you can get paid decently well, but it's like artists are just known for just, if you make art, like it's hard to make a living. And now it's finally sort of artists, like we finally have a thing where we can sell our thing, and there's finally sort of a better way to sort of monetize. But now the fees are getting so high that it's again taken away from the small artist who doesn't have $100 or $200 to spare to mint an NFT piece that he or she might not even be able to sell. Because truth be told, it's very difficult to sell your first NFT piece if you've never sold anything before. Like I've tried minting 2 pieces for fun right now. I minted my aggregation thing where I just wanted to test that out. So I minted that one. The fees back then was about a little bit lower, and then I minted my money printer go brrr thing, which is a meme that went viral. Haven't sold a single thing with my money printer go brrr, which I was kind of surprised, because that thing gets like 10 or 20,000 views on YouTube per day. So I expected like maybe someone is interested. I mean, if there's a bubble, I'm going to profit from it, right? So I think currently it's just really like, if you're not a well-known sort of artist in the NFT space, it's very hard, I think, to get in and to start selling pieces. And that's why I think we're really starting to get in a bubble, because it's getting more and more of just I know this guy, I know this girl, I'm gonna buy their stuff and resell it for a profit. There's like art that Beeple made. I guess everybody here knows Beeple. Beeple is an artist. He's been doing daily renders for like 10 years, and he kind of kickstarted the complete insanity now with NFT. NFT had been going for a while before he got in, of course. But when he got in, it started getting absolutely crazy with insane valuations. And there's people now who bought Beeple art for maybe a couple $100 and are now trying to resell it for like 80, 100, what, even more Ethereum. And I heard stories of people like not even accepting bids because they figured it was going to go higher. And those are, I guess, the people who are going to be left holding the bag, because once the whole thing pops, then they're going to be left with art, which is suddenly going to devalue quite a lot. And then hopefully all of the original authors from the original art are still going to have their Ethereum, and hopefully they don't end up speculating in this whole in this buying someone or reselling it stuff. Because if you have a piece that did well and you sold it and you just like keep the Ethereum or sell a bunch of your Ethereum, then at least you're sort of in a safe spot. So I'm kind of hoping that the actual artist will somehow come out of this good, and that people who did go into this space early are able to keep a decent profit from it. Because no matter how like I'm hating on the hype of the NFT, but people who got into this soon early, who saw an opportunity, like they completely deserve making good profit of this. So I don't want to take anything from away from that. So let's talk a little bit more about like the transaction cost thing. So before the transaction cost come down, I don't think this will go anywhere. Like the bubble might keep going up a little bit, but that's I think about the extent it's going to go. Another thing, like if I mention like the other use case, which might also be relevant for like a lot of people here, like if you're an indie game developer, and I think a lot of you might be, if you want to integrate something like this in your game, the transaction costs need to be really low, because like if you're gonna do this type, like if you, let's say if you have a loot table for your game and there's only going to be like so many of these sorts and they're all going to be distributed like through the blockchain or through whatever, the transaction costs need to be like 0 or next to 0, because else your operational cost for a game is just like it just doesn't make sense to do something like that if you're gonna need to pay $10 for every piece of loot, even if it's only 1 cent for a piece of loot. I mean, if millions of people are going to play your game, your operational costs are going to go way high. So for stuff like that, the transaction costs need to be 0 or like practically like near 0 in order for something like that to make sense. But those use cases are really cool. So I'm excited to see where that is heading. So yeah, I think I've been going on for quite a while now, but I hope it was, I guess, sort of interesting. Just really wanted to share my thoughts on this subject, because I know I'm trolling about this subject on Twitter, but I do honestly think that it's really cool, but just not what it currently is. And currently it just is a bubble. I think everybody who doesn't see that, they're way too deep in the bubble, which is what happens with bubbles, I guess. Everybody is always like, oh, new paradigm. I mean, I know that happened with me with the whole like the previous boom bust with the crypto thing back in 2017, 2018. Everybody was like, new paradigm, everything is going great, and then it went boop, and then well, the rest was history. But yeah, so yeah, it's going to be exciting to see where all of this is heading. So I hope you found this interesting. It's like, even though it's different type of content, but I've done more of these just ramble videos, and I get quite a good response on them. So hopefully people will also like this one. If you did like it, leave this a thumbs up, of course. Like, just gently tap that like button. If you didn't like it, leave this a thumbs down. That also helps out the YouTube algorithm. So here for you. Yeah, of course, if you want to see more videos, like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon thing, like I do pretty regular videos. I do tutorials. I do just ramblings like these. Whole bunch of other stuff. So if you want to stay up to date with that, then you can do that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Peace.